Okay, so we have our map. We've shaded in our big shapes. We've refined a little bit, and we're just going to keep refining. We're going to add that detail. I have a B, an HB, and an H pencil. I have a kneaded eraser, and I have added this eraser. What's it called? Elastomer eraser. What it is just it's a pencil eraser. Now when you erase, sometimes you need to remove some of the lead off of there on a scrap paper. So you have a nice clean eraser to go in and use as a tool to draw. So I've got my B. I've added some dark marks here. I think we went a little too big on that pupil, so let's take some of that off. We want to make sure we have enough space for all of our little fun details. Now these are color on here, but we're gonna make them different values and tones so that we can continue in graphite. So you're gonna need to go dark and medium and a little bit lighter and a little bit darker, and just play around in there with your values. So it looks pretty dark here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't get caught up in that little perfection loop. As long as you get the lines going in the right direction and the highlights in the right direction, it's still going to make sense at the end of your drawing. Let's go ahead and get our H actually. Let's do that first. Let's make a couple of little bubbles where we want to keep completely white for these highlights in our eye. And they might be in the wrong spot, but we want to try to get them as close as possible because we're going to shade all the rest of this in. So it'd be really handy if we didn't have any lead. Then it would be the whitest white. So just make some shapes that kind of look like, as long as they're all in the same area, should make sense. So we got that little guy. Now remember, don't gouge your paper. Make the dark mark without, a medium dark mark without gouging your paper. We're just going to leave this all big and open here. And we have all these little lash lines in there. We're going to do that next. Go back to your B. You can get a little bit darker of a B. If you have a 2B, that's fine. That's a little bit darker than a B. You want to kind of start doing your darker areas first. Now it's dark up here under the lashes. We don't want to make it completely dark because we do have some little areas of gray. So just go a little bit lighter. You can use an HB or an H, whatever works for you. Play around with it. This is your creation. Whatever works best for you is the right answer. I'm just going to make some little lines in here. This looks square to me. So I'm going to make it reflect that over here on my drawing. Just a little bit though. See that little white line? I want to try to keep as much of those details as we can. The more little details like that you add, the more realistic it can become. See what I did there? Now I'm going to draw some lines. Just got this big brown streak here. Try to put that in. It gets a little hazier in the middle. and then a little darker in the corner. None of these marks make sense by themselves, but when they all come together, I think you'll be surprised at how detailed it is, just from making nonsensical marks. Inside of her eyes is a lot of shapes there. They're just kind of going together to make up the whole thing. So I switched to my H. I'm going to lightly, and I'm going to not completely fill it in. I'm going to try to leave little white lines if I can. And then I'm going to use my handy dandy eraser, pencil eraser. You can use, your kneaded eraser. Say you got that too dark, which I think I did in this area right here. Just go ahead and lighten that up with that. And then you go in and you make some lines. I'm going to get those highlights. See how that's starting to take shape? Now I'm just going to draw some hatches over mine. You don't have to. Try to bring it all together. Give it that round illusion. There's a lot of clear water over top of all this color stuff if you know what's happening inside your eye. It's basically a ball of fluid. So that would be her lens. Now that pupil is not dark enough for me. I'm just going to grab any other B that's darker than just a regular B, so a number with a B. I'm just going to go in. Now be careful because these are soft and they will smear. They don't quite want to stay where you put them. I'm just going to really get in there with that and make that pupil dark, just right there underneath of the highlight that we have. Okay. Zoom back out a little bit. Let's do the white of her eye before we do her eyelashes.